Good, Sean?
Yeah.
All right, good evening. Roll call.
Bob. Yeah. Rich. Nick.
Here.
Ryan. Here.
And Dan is, excused. He's away. Public session for agenda items only. Here none, moving to the district, building report. Deep Casino.
Not last tonight, over the last event tonight, where the blinds were installed last week. The HVAC guys gave us a number on insulating the ductwork that's upstairs to try to calm that down a little bit, so it's not so noisy. Other than that, you know, we're just still waiting on AJ signs, they're working through that. Like, so some of the emails up through that, so they're getting closer on that, I think. And, as soon as that's buttoned up, I think, we'll be in good shape.
I don't know.
Main care did get a new fob, so they can get in and out of that shed now to fuel it.
Okay,
They didn't have one, I guess, or whatever, but they got one now.
perfect.
And we just got a 300 and some gallon delivery the other day, so.
Good news.
Okay.
Do we have? I'm assuming, do we have to take action on this, washer and dryer? I get my Dropbox loaded.
It's right in the folder there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my tablet's not loading or something.
Yeah, exactly, the renovation budget there, so. There was some.
All right, so we're gonna purchase, a household, washer and dryer stackable. $1,671.90. I believe that's coming out of the renovation budget, right?
Mhm.
Sean? Need a resolution,
Make it.
Brian and, Robert.
With that, I don't believe, anybody had talked about it, we didn't talk to anybody about installation charges for electric or plumbing and any of that. So that's gonna have to probably get.
Yeah, this is just for, just buying the washer and dryer. I know Bob reached out to, he wants my office to do that. I think he's having, who's electrical director that was up there.
Mark signed in from, Dynamic.
I think he's having dynamic do the electrical. I believe you want to do it on a T&M basis,
Okay,
is what he told me on the phone, so.
okay.
I have a question, and I'm not opposed at all to that. I'm questioning the stackable. Is space the issue?
Yes,
Space is the issue, so we gotta go stackable?
yes,
Well, and I think they were gonna mirror what you have here, Rich. You guys have stackable here? But like, they said they were gonna mirror that.
Are they stackable?
yeah, the only spot that it will work is where the safety shower is. So that's all
I
you're.
just, the concern with what stackable is when one goes, you replace both appliances.
No, I believe there's separate appliances they do.
Two separate stack units.
Yeah, I think it's just, that terminology gets you, because I think the original plan was for that
Okay.
household title, so.
Right, that's fine.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Five stations we have.
Can't hear you, Sean. Thank you. I think you were doing roll call there.
We were. All right, you got nothing else?
I don't have anything unless you guys got questions. If you don't have any questions, I'm just focused tonight.
No, everything's good. Brian, you have nothing or?
That just was a buzz report from the company.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Chief. Apartments president's report. For an even month, so we'll go wine skill.
Perfect. Our, banquet is scheduled for 2:17. You guys got the invite for that. We had Connor Freeman, our fireman, joining and we voted in our March meeting. We received the resignation. We have a copy of that I turned in. I have a question about the membership app for social members, and I talked to Bobby a little bit about it. Basically, the district doesn't need to know if we have social members joining or not. I guess that was a question, I just want to clarify that. We don't have to notify you. I would rather notify you anyway if the person joins, because they are gonna be walking around the district property, so. You know, if that's something that we should be doing or something, so the board's, put on that. We did, the membership that approved changing our logo, which was an idea that we, got from, the district when we were working on the logo for the doors, for the windows. Another question is the status on the 2% tax refund check, is that?
July 1st,
July
second, third in there, yeah, that's when it usually comes in.
Okay, thank you. We continue working on our inventory. We are doing a full inventory of the district property and the department property so that you guys have that too. The building request form, we requested April 4th. I appreciate the board's quick turnaround on that, but we canceled it due to the prices of the pitch. I sent in the post report for both Hoyer and Pangburns usage of the facility. We won the Sluppy Cookie Award at the Brown's Brewing Chili Cook-Off. Like our third or fourth one for the best food we had. We membership approved purchasing outdoor poly furniture for the patio. Then we get that picked up tomorrow and they'll be set up tomorrow. The renovation projects I listed what we were talking about, and I've already discussed all these with Bob. And the only one I didn't know about is the spectrum box for the ready room downstairs, what the status of that was. And we had one of the neighbors in the near the firehouse come up and ask me about using the firehouse parking lot, the upper parking lot for their usage. A lot of them do it, a lot. Next door, I can't think of his name, Barack. His son parks there, a lot upstairs in that, in the upper parking lot. We never said anything, but I don't know if the district has a change in that, or who's parking there. But we had the next door neighbor have a party and they always use the upper lot as overflow for parking. But I just want to check with the board and see what your feelings are about allowing that or not.
It's helpful.
Yeah, I know. But I just want, because God forbid, now this day and age, somebody slips and falls on the parking lot.
Their vehicle gets damaged.
Or the vehicle gets damaged from the plow or whatever. Yeah. So that's something that just.
Twist an ankle and claim that we don't have enough lighting out there. It's like,
So that day, because I just said, well, just use your caution, you're on your own, That's how I worded it, because she already had the party scheduled, and literally was hours away from church. And sometimes the church uses it at times, so we just want to get some guidance in that. And then we had the window treatments installed in the chief's office, the line officer's room, and the executive board, so thank the board for that, because it does make a difference. And that's all I got. I'm gonna say that.
Say about using the parking lot, I know here, like, when the Millers uses it, they could use it for overflow for once a year event, and we always had to approve it. I don't know if there was something that goes between the two parties, but we always had to approve specific.
Yes, that one when the church asks to use mine still, we approve it also. I can't remember.
In the past, when the
In
church
the past,
asked.
the church usually asks ahead of time before any of their events. It's tough, it's nice to help the community, but, other people are, same concept is, if one person on Church Street can use it, why can't a person 3 streets over use it if they're having a party, so.
Right.
I thought when I think we used to. Joe would probably remember, but we used to have signs on it that said authorized parking. In the, all up and down, up and down below and up on top. I don't know if that's something the board would like to do then. Mark it that way and.
Imagine you probably could post that, right?
You can't remove anybody unless you got it posted. I
Yeah, you can.
mean, I think that's like the post office when it's closed, parking them all the time, but it really depends on how big a problem it is. You think it is, or how big a problem you don't mind it become.
Well, that's it, don't want to become a problem, because like I said, if you don't mind it, it's probably anybody would say, I wouldn't mind if you used it, once a year, but if you're gonna have a party every other weekend. And like I said, that one neighbor learns that, look at them parking at the firehouse, and then they're having a graduation party, and all of a sudden there's 50 cars in the parking lot. I don't want it to get too big. And it's nice to be polite.
I think too, you're a little different, like if a church groups, and that's more of a community thing as opposed to
Yeah, it's a community event.
Brian's throwing a party down the street. And
And it's reciprocal, something big going down the firehouse.
We actually use their parking lot.
Within that patch, yeah.
Shoes.
I think this would be best if we did, give permission to anybody. When you give permission, you acknowledge that they're usable. No. Still, if somebody wants to come on there and park, gets hurt or something, they're still gonna do is we condone it to start off with. Then we're almost accepting the liability and letting them do that.
I think I have some signs made up, it's authorized parking only. Don't acknowledge, the request.
I'm surprised we never picked up on even posting that, so I think we should at least get some signage up, because I don't think we have anything here other than like one says firefighter park, or something like that, but.
And just point to tourist people, like,
Or at least, I mean, it kind of covers us, right? If we say authorized parking only, somebody parks here, gets hurt, wrecks a car, it's one of our members' cars.
I mean, usually where this comes up is neighbors are using it, and then you try to lot plowed at night, there's 6 cars in there, and you can't get that done. I mean, it's kind of a, yeah, I mean, there's not a right answer here,
no.
because, you're dealing with community, and somebody can get their nose out of joint about it, but, either have to do something or do nothing. How about that for me, loyally advice?
I like what Vicky said, and we don't acknowledge it, don't see it, this doesn't happen.
Would be beneficial just to put signs up one spot, just like for use for fire department only, and then
We'll do
if
signs,
they, but not,
signs on each side of the
if somebody
entrance.
else parks there, don't, just
That we're not gonna call it.
look the other way, look the other way, but we positioned ourselves that we're saying you're not supposed to park here. I don't, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, you see like a county office building, authorized or employee parking only, if you're on a weekend, who the hell cares? It's like, maybe, so, I mean, it's kind of, everybody has that mentality, so I'm sure they have that with respect to the firehouse still not. Yeah, you can put an authorized parking sign way in.
On the way in, just,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's gonna do in the long run, if it's gonna do anything or what the objective is, but. Yeah. Wouldn't necessarily hurt. Long through landscaping.
I think, Jay, if you just, I don't know if you have to reach back out to them with an answer,
No, I didn't tell her anything other than that day when they came up, it was the day of the park.
Or,
So it was just like, you park there at your own risk, that's all I can say.
I think that going forward, one of those just, we don't condone it, but, if you do it, we're not gonna, just tread it lightly, I guess. Because like I said, it's tough because our parking's very tight to begin with new shed, we get a big fire incident, members do park up there, so on the parking lot, people of cars and we need it. Anything else? Perfect.
Only the social member thing, but I, like I said, Bobby, I think on my mind, we're still gonna notify you when we have somebody social or, active, we definitely do. We're still gonna do the background check on a social member, we're still gonna do all that. But we'll notify you of a social member.
Yeah,
Because I think you're on your property, I think
Yeah.
it's, you should know.
notification fine, we don't have to act on it, so.
Yeah. No forms or no nothing, just telling you that so-and-so lives here, joined this. social member.
Perfect, thank you.
Did we want to get signs? I'm sorry.
Can I get some 2 signs for the entrance way up top?
Just where it's conspicuous, where, just put one and you say, hey, the sign right there, you should have. That would be my thought process, just park up,
Get 2 signs.
It's authorized parking only should be a standard sign, should not be a special order.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Take 2 and then have them play around. We want to pre-approve up to $1,000.
I don't know what your cost, but I don't think. It can't be covered on the budget.
Hey, I'd rather be covered than have to hold it up.
I think it'd be under 500, which they can just kind of do. I don't think, it meets the spending. First of all, we gotta worry about a vote, but just normally have Mike or Bob or somebody get some 5 signs. Is that simple?
I mean, I think it'd easily be under 500, but
We'll provide up to 500.
Resolutions for up to 500 for to authorize parking designs for wine skill.
I'll make that.
I'll second it. Roll call.
Brian, aye.
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Aye. Amazon's got them for $42.
I'm saying Granger's.
You know, I might have to buy bolts.
Huh?
Might have to buy bolts in the fall.
You might put a poll for here.
Going to PFD's president's report.
all right. Well, I'm not gonna make you work as hard as Jay made you work tonight. Just so you know, we do the arson and sex offender checks on social members. And then I think I report just mentioning it to the district. Yeah, I think that's fair. That way I feel we're covered. So, yep, we're on the same page. So we filed, 2 new firefighter applications of the district. First one's Emily Devine, and the second one is Christopher Dunham.
Like to do that.
In Dropbox.
Yeah, it's in Dropbox.
Chris comes with firefighting experience in northern Rensselaer County. He's DEFO and IFO certified. And Emily is the significant other of firefighter Andrew Morabito, who is currently in the State Police Academy. So she's very interested in becoming active here. And we also have a third application that's pending for May. It's a resident of Van Allen Apartments who has prior firefighting experience down in Orange County. She's BFO certified and she's locally employed at Regeneron, and she wants to get back into firefighting. So we look forward to her joining us next month. Our firefighter for a day recruitment event on April 26th is moving forward. Everything is good to go. Our committee has been communicating with the Wine Skill Committee and scheduling out some things for the future year. We're going to be sending a crew on the 26th down to Twin Town Little League. It's their opening day for their parade down in Hudson Valley. That's in the morning. Also, the recruitment supplies were ordered and most of them were received through the chief. And our members really appreciate the financial support of the board fire commissioners for helping out on those efforts. Thank you very much. And I have sent you 5 facility use requests. First one is May 31st, Greg Kroll for the meeting room for an anniversary party. June 21st for an ice cream social recruitment event, which could be either in the pavilion or in the meeting room here. On June 29th, Emily Peary has a child's birthday party out there. July 26th, Art Stewart's is sponsoring the Red Knight Motorcycle Club having a meeting in the pavilion. And on August 23rd, we're looking to have our company summer picnic out in the pavilion. And also attached in the report is thank you for the inspection, thank you reimbursement, and also a list of people that were recognized at our banquet earlier in the month. That is all I have.
Perfect. Do I have any questions on the bill for use forms? Cover Dropbox. Have a motion to accept them.
I'll make it.
Rich and Robert. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Membership underneath. They're on. Approval of the prior month's minutes. I know I was glanced over them really quick. I didn't see nothing. It's a motion to approve them. Robert seconds. Oh, you saw him.
I wasn't sure if he was dancing on his head or something.
All in favor?
Can you do it?
Aye.
Aye. All right, treasurer's report.
All right, treasurer's report. I sent you out an email just in case, you didn't see it. I don't know, maybe it is in the Dropbox, but I didn't see it in the Dropbox. So I emailed you it. Okay, so the money market account, which covers the capital reserve accounts, has a balance of $1,180,000.
$37.08 of that amount, $1,023,801 is capital reserve equipment. $106,409 capital reserve building, $50,826 capital reserve repairs. We earned $2,032 worth of interest on that particular account. The WFD capital project account had a reconciled, oh shoot. Here comes the bank recs for you to review and sign off on. The WFD capital project account had a reconciled balance of $391,478, earning $647 or $74 worth of interest. The checking account has a reconciled balance of $925,088, and that account earned $1,740 worth of interest for the month. The subsequent attachments, first you'll see a copy of the bank reconciliation, the bank statement for our money market account, a copy of the bank reconciliation, and the bank statement for our WFD project account. Then the bank reconciliation, excuse me, for the checking account, along with a copy of a bank statement and all the checks that were cut. They were cashed anyhow. And then final couple pages, the next page after the bank statement is a list of all the checks that were cut and approved last month, the check number, the dollar amount, name of the payee. And then finally, the last 3 pages is just an actual to budget expenditure report. Unaudited, I want to say.
Make a resolution to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second it.
Brian.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Rich. Bob.
Aye.
Approval of the current month's invoices. Quite a few that are come through, and you know them. Anybody else need anything or any questions on them? Pay the invoices. Need a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Brian.
Here, Brian.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Rich. Robert.
All right, correspondence received.
We received the collateralized statement from M&T Bank, which exceeds the money we have at the bank in excess of FDIC. Received from Bob Durivage a $549 payment for Verizon and new phone. Check from NYSIF for a credit, there was $116.51. And then we received two checks from Lexus, Texas. And then just something in addition, we just received Robert Miller's certificate of completion of his fire district training from Mark Butler and Terrence Henry. We'll add that to the.
Okay. Nick, there's also one other. I received a check tonight from Dan Wilson Jr., $33.09 for Verizon charges. Okay. Good to know.
And none on the cent side. Nice to add, right? All right. The municipal agreement with the Rensselaer County transfer of property ownership. You guys. Box. Monday. I know we have those too. Got a chance to read the agreement?
Authorize the signature and send it to the.
The resolution to authorize it, so send it off to the county.
Make a resolution to authorize you to sign it. Send it over to
I'll second it.
Brian.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye. Still reading.
Bob. Aye.
Basically, it's divesting you of any ownership interest in it. Divesting the district of any ownership interest in the.
I know we talked about this.
All right. New business. License to occupy agreement with North Rim Ambulance ambulance has a spare ambulance that's sitting outside currently right now. They reached out to, myself to see if it was possible to store it up at the firehouse. I said, we checked with the chief of the department, you know, to make sure it wasn't an issue, and he said he had no problem with it. So until they get a new home for it, it'll be up in our building. They're only gonna give access to three of their members, which one member is currently, a Wine member as it is, so.
Will they give me the name so I know that access, or,
I was gonna have Bobby do it, unless you wanna do it.
oh, okay, I was gonna do it,
I was
okay.
gonna have Bobby do it.
All right.
It's,
Yeah.
it's Ryan French and, Dan, Bornholm, so,
Yep.
and then Bobby himself, which will
Yeah,
be
yeah.
access. Uh,
This is a redux of an agreement we had years ago, 480, when they kept an ambulance there. You guys look down here. So, you know, Bob asked me to draw something up. I went back into the archives. Hey, here's this. Sent over to Bob. He just fixed it up the way, you know, to deal with the current agreement. So it's significant to a license as opposed to a lease. It doesn't give anybody like tenant rights in the property and eviction, all that. It's a license, it's a personal thing, so you could, you give it, you take it away. So this is. Back to 2017 or 20.
It's the one thing that I ran into Danny the other day. I was concerned about because it's a ALS regulated drugs and stuff on it. Said that I prefer, from where I stand, all the drugs were off the ambulance before it comes to the station. He said they only have 3 sets, so there probably won't be any there, but I think it would be good board to just, you know, in a letter giving them permission or something, just say, it's our understanding that there'll be no drugs left in it. If something ever happens because they're under lock and key, then every member of the fire department has access to the building, and be screwed under scrutiny.
that's why we can update this. And make sure to include that in there. Anybody else have any?
I'm just, did they give you any indication as to the longevity of this?
Could be up to a year and a half.
Yeah, and I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. That was my understanding too. It could be longer than that
It could be longer than that.
because
It's very fluid. I mean, it's
I just
really
don't-
fluid on their fleet, so.
I don't want somebody coming back here, you know, banging their fist on the table 6 months from now saying, oh, the ambulance is still here. It's like, we know it's gonna be. Because my understanding is that ambulance could be there until they get the building. That's a project for sure.
Yeah, my understanding is it's not,
Yeah,
it will be until that's built, it'll be there.
That's easy too.
okay, as long as everybody's aware of that, that's what I just want to be sure. No, I don't want to say we stuck something in.
No, it's a year and a half easily.
Easily.
This, let me ask you a question. Something happens and we need this space. I'm
It's
just,
our space.
I understand that. We're well within our rights.
You can terminate it on 2 days' notice.
And then they will.
I'm just, you know what I'm saying, just,
And they looked at other options too. I know they looked at other options for where they could store it.
They want to rotate the ambulance out once a week.
Yeah.
So we're trying to relieve, you know, that stress of having to drive. They were talking about the hose,
Yeah.
a couple different spots for it. So, you know, just trying to help them out, being, you know, working together to help them move forward.
They had garage space up in, just north of Waterford.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, especially if switching out once a week. Anything over there, Brian?
No, it's right here in frame. We decided, you know, they're interfering with 2 days written notice.
Resolution,
I'll make it.
Rich will second it. Roll call.
Aye. Rich.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Brian. Aye.
Later. All right, department chiefs reports, WFT.
Thank you. You got my reports, my purchases, just a follow up. I know we talked about this beginning of the year with all of the offer qualifications. So maybe we can look at before summertime or to kind of work on something. I'll wait till it's too late. And also to follow up to the email I sent back in July of 24 about the safety officer duties. That was talked about in the year as well, and I kind of just been sitting on it. Like to get that squared away in our end. If any of those guys interested in taking those positions, helping out. Fire apparatus or fire equipment stuff. Rescue 42 into Atlantic Detroit, that's all fixed and running even better. PM service has been scheduled, been floating out, hydro testing for some cylinders. Fire with 30 total that need to be done. I had lost 10 because of end of service life. So that's something else we're looking at maybe buying before the end of the year. What else? Sent a letter to Hannaford for a donation for the water, how the water usually do. I got a copy of it. So they don't do the distribution anymore down in Skodak. You have to go to the local store. This local store will get you hooked up. So there's a whole letter thing and paperwork that I filled out for that, so they can take care of to run along the water. McCoy McMahon asked me, and I'm just trying to find some little guide for this. Since he's out of college, he wants to ride along with the fire department out there. And he just wondered what he needs from here to go out there and what he needs from out there to come here.
It'd be, like a mutual aid agreement, because they're borrowing from us.
Okay.
In this case, it's usually the other way around. Basically, it's a letter between the two of you. I'm wrong on how this works, because
You keep digging.
keep digging the hole.
Yeah, you screwed up and said mutual aid.
Well, whatever the term was.
It's a two, it's basically, it's under gentleman's law, it's 209I agreement, where you know, he's your firefighter and they want to use them.
They want to borrow them.
So they should prepare some documentation. There's a couple articles, Fantasy magazines, last month, where they can borrow on a continuing basis, but, they'll probably want to validate with you, chief, that he's legit. He's legit, and you want to square away, you know, his physical, his SCBA qualification, you know, what he's trained on, Scott, medium, whatever they have, they may have to run through their own.
Yeah.
And, gear, are they gonna supply him with gear, or is it gonna take years with them? So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other place to do that.
Yeah.
The big thing is the mask, the air, the SCBA qualification. It's not going from Scott to MSA without refit.
All right.
But that should be all of them. I can send you some samples.
Okay, perfect, great. There's also brought up some of the hydrants in town that have failed to be repaired over the last 3 or 4 years. We were just wondering, we brought up our auction again Sunday, if maybe you guys could send a letter down or contact Keith Hankel and see what the status is. There's several that I've noticed that are bent, twisted, broken, still taped up, that need to be addressed. And I've heard different things about, well, it's pressure relief valve, it's clean out hydrant, really not meant for fire department use. So just to see what the status are, or some of them, like the one on Linda Lane up to 150, that hydrant at the corner is the closest water source to that entire development. Are all 4,000 square houses. So, somebody could send a letter to or go down and talk to them about.
If there's a list of hydrants in the district that would need, that we've identified that need work, we should probably put that list together. Send it to Keith and say, hey, this is what the firefighters have what's going on.
Okay.
So if you got some and Chief Sheen, if you got some, then we should send that all in one. Like, no, to them, say.
We're also participating in the Twin Town Parade on the 26th, and the recruitment guys are doing the New York recruit event as well that day. Just one operational thing, there was an issue with the William Street off of Snyder's Corners Road. Apparently it has been fixed. It was more of a new CAD thing, but people were questioning why Folsom was showing up and not us, or the ambulance. So a little bit of investigative work, and they pay taxes in North Greenbush, but reside in Post Kill. I don't know how that street works, but just want to make sure they're getting the services they're paying for. The gentlemen are here from the Rescue 42 Rehab Project. They put together a initial committee report of the scope of work they're looking to do. Want to give them the, want to wait for your report, Rich? You want them to do it right now?
Yeah, we do. Your fault.
They can do it, we'll do it under apparatus.
Okay, even better. I think that's it. Yeah, good for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Shane? Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say for the officer or the safety officer, I know we were kind of talking about once this thing settled down this year, we'll probably sit down with two chiefs, you and myself. Not just go over the incident safety officer, but also review the firefighter officer qualifications. I know that was kind of things come up near the end of each past couple of years, so maybe we set up something between now and the May meeting, if that works for you guys. I know Memorial Day and stuff, but
That's fine.
I'll send some out from the board list and kind of.
Yeah, I'll see what, I have a lot of fire officers.
All right, well, we'll see, we start working on dates at least to get it done. So you have been patient with the safety officer side of it, and we have been wanting to review the officer qualifications. So I have.
Perfect. Chief Shane?
So I have a lot of crossover from Chief Wilson's report, but, we did a temporary response change for the water issue, down Gilmore Road. So we're supplementing our non-hydrant box for Gilmore Road, the artery and sewage treatment plant while they're still under emergency water use. So that's gonna stay in effect, until it's confirmed that there's no more issues down there. Like Chief Wilson was saying, we had some discussion about the OPC classes. Kind of going towards the requirements, like we asked for a advanced class. And this, as of this year, the state changed the prerequisite for it to have truck company operations. So we had truck company operations in Minesville that got canceled because there wasn't enough people to take it. And regardless of that, we couldn't get a lot of people into the class because it has nothing to do with the county or anything, but just the way the timelines for the classes kind of lined up. You know, we had people that either wanted or needed to take all three, but for some reason they couldn't, or if they couldn't take one, then they boxed out of the other. So it's a little frustrating, because we need several of our new members, like 7 or 8, that need fast, or we'd like them to have fast. So something discussed during, the officer firefighter qualifications, and maybe if other departments are having some sort of issue with this, that they're making it a little too stringent for some of these classes to get. I don't know what your district can do, but maybe we can express our displeasure, if everyone feels the same, to the powers that may be. But that's for another night of discussion. We're discussing the unsafe structures in town with town code enforcement. They sent them out last week. There's a handful of them that are sort of disrepair, abandoned, or both. Chief Steer asked if they're going to be placard with the big red X for do not enters, and the town replied that they don't plan on doing that as of right now. So we're going to ask the code enforcement office if they could, just for our safety. I know we mapped it on iResponding, put up on our mapping software. Either enter caution or do not enter, but we think it's important that the town takes some action. If we know that there's issues with these structures, they should probably label as such. So we're gonna ask code enforcement in town if they can do that. If they don't, we'll go back next month and they would, in that letter we're drawing up, we would throw that in too. And we had what we call an issue, but when discussion with, we had a dual response with East Greenbush Fire to 600 North River Road like 2 weeks ago. That is in fact not a dual response, hasn't been in 30 years, but in the new IER messages, it shows at the bottom what district you're responding into. And 600 North River Road is coming up as East Greenbush Fire for rescue. So I sent an email down to Supervisor Mel, 911 Center, and he's gonna look into it. It could just be a fluke, something to fix, but it's worth looking into, make sure we have proper agencies doing dispatch to that neck of the woods. And then the last thing I got is truck stuff that Chief Steer is gonna cover brief.
So we had our 9/6 pre-construction meeting back in March. Today, we dropped off the truck. Everything is a go. So all the work that was agreed upon is scheduled to be taken care of. They also are going to do the PM work. And I had to add in a couple extra repairs that are required for the truck. So they'll be doing that as well. And a couple, I think, required quotes. I've asked for them to be brought back to us before the whole truck comes back, hopefully in June, the anticipated date. Regarding other PM, we had, 9/7 went out for PM. It had to have, 2 valves rebuilt. And also, after the Snyder's Lake fire, we had to have the pressure relief valves, rebuilt because there was stones and stuff that did some damage to the plungers in the 2 main, pressure relief valves. They were rebuilt. They're also, Premier is gonna be giving us a quote to reconfigure the rear tarp on the backside of the truck and the hose bed. It really hasn't been conducive to good operations and repacking hose since we've had the truck. It kind of flaps in people's faces constantly and people have knocked off the truck a little bit while they're trying to repack hose, so we'll get a quote on that. Rescue 9 had PM maintenance done. That had quite a few issues with it. Notably was the auto tank to pump valve, which is air actuated, that had to be rebuilt. It's in the middle of the pump system, which took them quite a bit of time to rebuild. That truck has a lot of behind the scenes hoses, air systems, wiring that they had to navigate through. So that was taken care of. We've had a problem with the auto tank fill valve, which is currently out of service on that truck. So we're just doing it the old fashioned way, but they're quoting out a rebuild kit for that if they can get it, because of its age. If they can't get it, we're just gonna stick with what we have. You can still fill the tank manually and not have any problems if you're a pump operator. Also on the truck, they did, fix the seat, the front driver's seat, slides were worn out. And we had a couple issues with, sensors and doors and some lights that were replaced. Some of the items on the invoice, they did not bill us for. And I asked, why isn't it on the invoice? And he said, I'm not billing you because we kept the truck way beyond what we should have. And I went, okay. So what you don't see on the invoice is the tank pump valve, discharge rebuild, new LED lights for the rear tailboard, and compartment door sensor that they put on the truck. And I think that, on 9/7, they also had to replace the 4 batteries. They had between 50 and 80% charge in them, and they couldn't take any more charge, so they were replaced. And Rush 9 is scheduled to go for PM at Ferris on April 24th. But otherwise, we're in good shape and hope everything goes smoothly with 9/6. Any questions about trucks? Yep.
Whatever happened with the hoses in the headliner of 9/7? Revolution on that.
So it was replaced, the hose was replaced at Premier. They did write up, on the invoice what the problem was and what they repaired. If we need a more detailed report, I can get that from Jeff Riccio. I know there was some interest in sending a letter to, Sutphen, more formally because of the unknown, effects of antifreeze to the electronics and things up in there. So we can certainly get that if we need to.
You know, I was under the belief that more detailed report was coming.
I can see what was on the invoice, and the invoice literally just came.
Okay.
So,
So let's ask them for the more detailed
Yeah.
report. We still owe stuff in a letter.
yeah, so we'll have that for you.
And did he give you an idea of how much labor was actually in there to at least take a look at it?
To find the,
Well,
to find.
9/7 and 427 identical trucks.
Yes.
And do we have an idea of what the cost would be to at least check 427 so we don't have that same issue with that truck?
It should be relatively easy because those panels, they're metal panels over the passenger side, seat, in the header. they're fairly accessible. I'm sure we could get a price or have them do it during the day.
The way it was explained to me, Jeff, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was when they happened to put a screw. The two trucks were built by different teams in the same factory. They were built alongside each other by two different teams. There might not even be a screw there. There might be a screw in another place.
There should be a screw there.
We don't care, somebody's gonna.
The team that put it, that built it should not have put that tube in that spot without a buffer or some piece of foam in there to prevent the tube from being up there and where the screw went in
Okay, well,
to mount the plate. But it's literally, if you're sitting
it'd be worth looking.
in the passenger seat to the right of your head, it's right.
I just wanted to dispel the myth that, the same team of people built both trucks.
Yeah.
They were built parallel to each other, kind of almost in competition with each
Sure.
And it seems like yours end up more courts than ours. Like the
other.
crew,
Sometimes it does.
yeah, the crew that built yours almost was like the B shift to the A shift.
Yeah.
It's the way that, it seems that everything goes wrong.
It's all in what they were lubricating at lunch with.
Yeah.
So we'll have that report from Jeff Riccio and, hopefully it'll.
Would it be wise to the board to ask one go chief when they send it over?
When it goes
Repairs
over,
to,
when it goes over Premier for its, PM maintenance,
2 weeks.
I think it no matter what the cost is, it's worth it to have on those.
He might not even charge, honestly. You might just say, yeah, that's exploratory, and that area is pretty.
Here, one apart, so.
Yeah. Finding the leak was the big problem. If you know where to look, it's pretty simple, because we had removed the whole condensing unit right out of the ceiling, chain and ion detector. That was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions on, purchase request between the two chiefs? Purchase, I didn't add them all up, but, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 purchases.
Pretty sure the one.
Look
Get the resolution that they spend, honor the request.
makes the resolution. I'll second it. Roll call vote.
Richard.
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
All right, moving on to standing committee reports. Apparatus, equipment, environmatic operations.
Well, we had a apparatus committee, meeting scheduled, for truck or two. And it turned out that it was the night that, the Wednesday, the week detail for, which. So, we own that in deference to that. We have, I don't have a date yet for. We do have had some discussion, back and forth. Just with email and text and what have you. There seems to be, quite divergent thought. There's still some people that seem to want to go ahead with, let's start continue spec of the new rig. There are other people that seem to be, well, why don't we keep pursuing this, re-chassis, idea, at least until we get something more definitive from Spartan, whether they can do it or not. And we've had a couple people float the idea that, maybe we should start looking for a solid used rig that meets our needs. So we really got to nail that down because, particularly the last option versus the other two is a completely divergent path. So, we're going to get a feel for what the board thinks about it. It's something we want to run past the chiefs, and have the chiefs get a feel from their officers as to what their thoughts are on a used rig. There's some out there. It was one that was circulated that pointed out, it looks like one of Schenectady's used Rosenbauers that is going to be coming online available. Jeff Steer provided some information on a rig that was, or a fire department that routinely, because Jeff, you gave it or Greg gave it to me?
Greg sent it.
Greg did. It's a fire department that routinely turns over apparatus in 6 years. And there's fire departments that kind of line up to grab their apparatuses.
Could I just mention, I would not buy used apparatus. I'm not a big fan of that, especially you come out of the city department or wherever. I don't care how much they maintain it or what they do to it. I'm not a fan of that, because once again, you don't know how they beat the death out of that thing. Just because they have good maintenance records on, doesn't mean it took care
I
of.
tend to agree, but, you know, I mean, there's people that are looking at the bottom line dollars, saying that
Yes.
we can save $1 million here. So,
The problem is you keep waiting as long as you are, every month goes up 10%, and then every year it's gonna be more, and now with the tariff things going on, you're probably gonna be well above, you're probably gonna be spending as much money to refurb it than you are just to buy a brand new one.
there's information circulating in social media anyway, and it seems to have some credence. I did a little bit more research on what's going on with one of the major suppliers in that I won't say it's an accusation, but there's some pretty strong feelings that there's some collusion going on with one of the major suppliers, because they control 3 or 4 companies now, and they're bidding against each other, or they're controlling parts and those kinds of things. So the market is not very stable right now, as I see it. So it's we have a little work. You've been committee meeting going again, and we'll get back on track.
Do you have a timeline, like when do you want to get this sort of on track to?
I'd like to, it's middle of April now. We get a meeting scheduled for late April, early May. Throw it out there.
The refurb company is supposed to give us an answer, I think mid-May. They can, maybe do rework work.
Yeah.
What's it?
The refurb company is supposed to give us a answer that they can, take our old ladder and put it on a new chassis.
It's Spartan engineers have to look at their chassis and say that their new chassis, the changes that are being made to the chassis, accept the torque box and the ladder from our, and accept that weight. It's all a matter of, does it weight or not? And the factory guys seem to feel that it was, in the end, it was gonna go, but until they had numbers that supported that, the engineers were saying no. But they were still working the numbers, they didn't have. So, I'm waiting for that.
I personally like to set a date, not too far in the future, where we say not gonna happen now.
I was gonna say, that's what the long range committee plan said, because right now, we're not even gonna get a truck in 2028.
I think,
At some point, if the committee split, like some are saying, go this route, some go this route, at the end of the day, you gotta make a decision.
Hey,
And the longer you wait, the more it goes up.
Yeah, and that's-
Every 10 months, every month, it's 10% more, and
We're seeing it.
I would say next month we meet, they don't have an answer.
moving on.
Right. Right, we'll tell them, we'll communicate that.
Because you jerk us around, it's probably $250,000 a year, it's truck.
Wow. And the longer it's gonna be for a truck to come in, because you know how those tariff things will work. If they're gonna delay getting steel in here,
Beautiful trucks.
be a beautiful truck, be a very beautiful truck.
And Barry, I'd like your input on what's going on with the revenue. Is there anything to this that you see, or?
I know they were sued for a KME that
They what?
they got sued over a KME that I was involved in, that they didn't deal with very professionally. No, it's, I haven't any experience with them bidding against themselves, but, if they're submitting multiple bids, open bid, that they've got 3 or 4 companies now. They got KME, they've got
E1 Ferrara.
KB1, Ferrara, and the one other that I could think, I can't think of the name. Get there.
Yeah, so.
Schmiel.
Schmiel. It's a seller's market for them. All the apparatus.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add, but you said we're good. Rescue Board 2 committee.
Let me comment on that. I got the report just before the meeting, and I'm impressed.
It was very well.
I'm impressed. You guys do. The providers, I don't know if everybody got a copy or not. It's not a Dropbox.
I have one.
I've got one. I don't see anything in there that's considered superfluous or wasteful. I think they put together a real good, solid outline to get started, so I want to put oil on it. I want to pump them up a little bit before we chop them up at the meeting.
You got more money, Joey?
No more money.
There's more money? Oh, okay. We gotta do another one then. As you know, we got a new committee, probably started 3 weeks, a month ago, to throw this together, through Chief Wilson's blessing here. It's myself, Al Nieto, AJ's our chairman, but he's out of town for work. Walt Apple and Ronnie is our advisor to his extensive knowledge of the equipment and the rescue truck. You've got the list there. I'm not gonna read the whole list over. It's basically, like you said, it's preliminary for now. We gotta get the chassis checked out either through Premier or Bulldog or both. I know Jeff was saying something about you had better luck with Premier, was it? Because they could get it in the air and maybe caught stuff that Bulldog didn't, so maybe Bulldog would be a waste of time, I don't know, whatever you think. As far as the body goes, on the rescue, if the paint and body is still in really good shape. You know, we may find something as we go along, so it really doesn't need, so far, we don't see any body work, like I said, we still got to add up what's gonna happen with the chassis. Just going through, touching on some things like the light tower, getting that repaired, switching to LED lights, getting rid of those drawers on the bottom. Big thing with those are, also just better relaxing like any other compartment, but we've had to put safety clamps on because they don't stay closed. And if somebody doesn't pay attention to putting that safety clamp back on, they open while you're driving it. Fortunately, we haven't killed anybody yet. So we want to get rid of those. And we really only are refurbing so far, 4 compartments, 2 on the passenger side, 2 on the driver's side, to relocate the cribbing, the high lift jacks that are in those drawers. Getting rid of the hydraulics on there, we'll open up some of that, coffee compartments up on the top. Getting rid of the foam, which we don't use anymore, that'll open that up. So if we do have excesses with, you know, cribbing and whatnot, we're gonna use some cribbing bags. We can always put those excesses up on the top, so we still have it, even though the likelihood of using it, you know, it's less like. And it's also gonna get rid of some of the weight on the truck. Other than that, you know, other than what we have down here, there's really nothing excessive. We just did some mechanical work on it. So the big thing now is really getting underneath it and taking a look at the chassis. You know, basically as we move forward. Anybody have any questions?
Good report.
Like I said, we'll have a better, next month, we'll have a better, other than that.
Can you get this, can somebody send this to me electronically so I can share it with Bob and Brian?
Sure, I did, Ron. Hang on, I can bring it down. But I'll have AJ do that. My secretary.
Before we get off the apparatus, Rich, there's a request from Mr. Miller, if we could, if him and I could switch roles. If I could move over to building grounds and if he could be on the,
Your point, I have no objection at all.
it's, you know, I'd rather everybody's opinion, you know. He's more versed in the heavy equipment. I got a construction background, so he brought it up to my attention last month. I said, I'll check it with you. So moving forward next month, you know, or after this meeting, you know, it'll be apparatus equipment, firematic operations, and then I'll move to building grounds. So when you send your email out to the truck company, make sure you send it. All right, moving to building grounds. Brian, you got anything?
Negative.
You got anything? Perfect.
Oh, I don't know if Joe mentioned it. He has taken the mining firearms, outfitted almost every room with these motion sensors in the rooms. It's, there's always lights being left on and stuff, so Joey did a good job with that.
District personnel.
Oh, I meant Joey left.
Yeah, he had
Did
background.
anybody bring up the fact that the fuel sheds met with some type of demise?
what the, damage to it.
The plow mark?
Huh? That was from the plow.
Okay,
It was
just,
a town plow.
They've been talking to the town. I sent them pictures of a month and a half ago, when we found it.
Yeah.
They leave the extra sunny to somebody come over and do it, I guess.
they think it can be fixed fairly easily, but
Yeah.
I noticed it the other day.
District personnel. Here, okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Finance and audit. Insurance. I don't have anything unless Sean does.
Nope.
Perfect. Long range planning,
No,
we
like,
just did that last month, so.
right, just hoping to get some action on the little SAP and the station keeper stuff and apparatus stuff. Nothing, man.
Policy, procedures, and membership. Brian and myself. 3 new members to vote on.
Right, we have new members vote on, but also just to Chief Sheen's point about the training and stuff, there's another possible option, you know, we're talking about possibly city rental or MTOs and stuff. There's a process where you might be able to get training that we could look into, that's state recognized. Basically, any fire department has more than 6 full-time staff, whatever, they kind of like an MTO, municipal training officer, we might be able to set up something, but if I'm not mistaken, I can double check at work tomorrow, but it's like a 3-way agreement where the county says yes, and the 2 departments say yes, so maybe another way to get training. And truck company operations is one of the classes that they can get through an MTL. So if you want me to look into that for Rensselaer possibly, or smaller option.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
No,
that's a
you-
question.
It was directed to you.
it's worth looking into, because every year it seems to get just a little bit harder to get what we need. The county's doing a much better job, especially this year, it's getting training, we actually need scheduled. But when that proves, then something else.
Yep.
Kind of hangs up, so I think we should, when the chiefs and person on board sits down, I think we should explore all the options we could do. So we don't have to rely so heavily on the state training, especially for stuff that we can't or have a hard time doing.
I'll get the information on it for our meeting when it comes up here. I think I sent an email to you guys about the officer policies and stuff too. So cover it all in one meeting.
We talked about a lot of training, which doesn't necessarily lead to national certification. Unlike BFO, IFO, which it leads to a firefighter 1 or firefighter 2, or the officer training that leads to a national certification. There are, as you said, there are other options, but it doesn't necessarily, you know, the fact that the state of New York decided that to take their fast class requires a truck company. So you got to take the state of New York fast class.
Right, that's our option, but I just want to get the idea there. And, you know, I guess what misnomer is that truck company operations is ladder truck specific. It's more ladder specific, not so much ladder truck. Just minor detail there. Just throwing ladders, that kind of stuff, which is kind of hard and fast. They did kind of throw it out of nowhere, no warning, so a lot of this stuff it is.
But in an era where all the effort seems to have been to make it easier and more feasible for people to get training, they just threw another obstacle there. They just threw another obstacle. It's like,
I abstain from any comments.
and I get it, I understand.
Motion to 3 new members, 2 for the 3, so 1 for line skill. Christopher Dunn,
Emily,
Emily Devine, and Jack Porter. All in favor? Aye. Paperback over. OSAP. So last month, had a little hiccup. Just gotta pass the resolution to accept the report that I provided last month. Never did that. So I'll make the resolution to accept the report that I read. Roll call vote.
Rich.
Aye.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye. All right. You don't have nothing, right, Brian?
negative.
Chiefs don't have anything? Perfect. Business operation technology. I don't know if anybody read, was able to read Bob's quick synopsis of everything. Very detailed, and very good. Purchased 2 iPads, one for, 2, 6. Just to get everything, all the apparatus in line with, the new iron responding technology that's up and coming, so.
Like, can you let Bob know, I never use my district iPad. So I'm gonna be turning it back in, he can then reallocate it wherever it's needed, because it's just, you know, I mean, I don't know that it's new enough to go into one of the apparatus, but maybe there could be a shuffle where it could be used, and another that could be freed up. I don't know.
It's been engineered or something.
For doing the station reports or something like that, yeah. I never used the district one.
Need a resolution to purchase 2 iPads for $323.90.
Make it.
Rachel second it. Roll call vote.
Brian,
Aye.
Dick,
Aye.
Rich, Bob.
All right, moving on to development plan review. Brian?
Nothing earth shattering, probably should have been more operations, but, you know, it looks like we've got hydrant issues we gotta, you know, start addressing. The placarding that's spelled right out in the code. And the third thing is Vanderheiden. It's starting to get like ridiculous going up there all the time. There's gotta be something, maybe it's time for a bigger sit down with Mr. Miller, so look at some solutions. It's getting ridiculous. No offense.
It's
I
not
mean-
just the cooking issue, it's also the clientele, so that's a.
Right, you're not gonna just have full stations, but the cottage uses it, it's the stove in the basement, it's the head's too close to it, is it the right type of head?
Also have issues with the kids up there too.
But I think it's effective response, you see in the I'm responding, I mean, you might get 2 people, you know, it's coming up.
It's a responsive convenient. It's convenient for me to go, you go, you know, and I think a lot of people feel that way about it.
Yeah, because by the time you get here, you're.
It's,
service and you're.
They're Eastwick, it's not Eastwick over there, I should say, you know, it's just,
It's almost.
maybe it's time for, because Bill did say, after texting him, that OCFS does not have responsibility for us, the state's not responsible for inspecting those, so code enforcement falls under the town of North Greenwich per Bill Miller. That's when I was trying to find out who's responsible, the town.
To get the right person.
They do the inspections, so therefore they own it. One, I'll reach out to him, talk to him about him. I mean, I'd rather the chief be involved, obviously, but if you guys trust me, I'll start to get the ball
I'll
rolling.
start calling them every time we're up there for. So.
I have it via text and writing that he's responsible.
Good. Perfect.
Brian, I don't, oh, sorry, I don't know if you caught it, but across the street had been tentatively approved or provisionally approved for the warehouse addition.
In the warehouse, we had some concept picture drawing of that in the pub or whatever,
The,
nothing.
The warehouse was provisionally approved by the planning board at the last meeting with a zoning board approval for the size. And that got approved on last Wednesday night, so there's gonna be a 4,800 square foot warehouse addition on the back of the building across the street. And talking to them, they indicated that they plan on being back, all their timelines, they plan on being back before the planning board before the end of the year on the rest of their projects. So they're gonna with the sewer. They think they're gonna be.
Let me start going back to the planning board meeting, starting the main monthly meeting, so I'll be at the planning board meetings going forward.
Thank you. Recruitment and retention. Ready?
The only thing I have on recruitment attention is I know that the committees met, or the committee met, preschool committee met, they invited the ones from committee with short notice. They couldn't get anybody, they did send somebody in the end, one of the newer guys, I guess, I don't know who it was. And they exchanged some ideas. There's been materials been ordered that were requested. The tents, the pop-up tents and a bunch of other stuff are supposed to be here for both departments for the April 26th event, recruiting event. That's the big one, the first big one coming up. So hopefully not going to, we're on track there and we have a good day with it. Perfect. And judging by the fact that we voted in more members tonight, something's working.
Public session. Even now. Motion adjourned. And
Executive session, please.
There is some that like. We're voting in here.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Scratch that.
Hey. Board has. Brought on stops, something for backup. We still don't have anybody in case something happens. I mean, he winds up in the hospital or something, we're screwed. You know? I mean, we're gonna have to have. You know, that's really what they're saying, I see some information, but I'm trying to be realistic. That's a very, yes. So I don't. I think we need to do something. What that is, I don't know.
There was some, you know, there was some discussion when the, on that, when the, decision was made. We looked at the job descriptions and the list of duties that are provided by everybody. And it was felt that for at least for now, we can continue in the path where we win it. However, as the district continues to grow, as the town continues to grow, this, you know, as our function of business can continue to grow, you're absolutely right. The other thing we looked at is that, well, we're also discussing when we do something with full-time firefighters, full-time people in the building that would have firefighting duties. I like to call them firefighters with other duties, but that's for discussion for another day. And what duties that currently are being done by non-uniform staff or administrative staff could slide over to firefighters. And so there's going to be some shuffling here in the next few years as we evolve. You know, I had another very informal discussion with a now retired chief of a combination department, and you know, this, you know, I've said this many times before, and in talking to him, it's been reinforced that, you know, to me, the future of the volunteer fire service rests in well-run, well-managed combination departments. Because I don't see us being able to do what we're doing at 100% volunteer for longevity and the growth and and meeting the expectation of the community. When the vast majority of our community right now believes that both stations are manned by career firefighters, and they don't even know any better. And when you tell them that no, it's volunteers and you can come down and volunteer too, it's like, why would I want to do that? Why can't we just pay somebody to do it? No, I don't volunteer to plow my streets. I don't volunteer to patrol my streets. Why would I volunteer to put out fires? You know, that's kind of the attitude of some of these people in town have. You know, I think we need to be, you're right.
Even with, you know, station keepers, whatever we want to call them. I don't think anybody in that position would have the financial expertise to deal with what.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but unfortunately, what do every fire district throughout New York State do? They only have one predator.
I understand, but I mean, one of the things we talked about, and I still don't understand what happened, we talked about in that after one meeting was to try to get lists where the people could do something, like what would Bob be able to give up, what would Sean be able to give up? And I don't know if I didn't communicate it right or it didn't come across right. That didn't happen, no? So, you know, I just think the bigger, you know, Mike, nothing with you or Bobby or anything, it's easier to put somebody from a firematic, you know, station keeper situation to take some of those roles than it is that.
Absolutely.
So, you know, maybe we revisit that. You know, and if Sean feels that there's some things that he could give up, that somebody could do to help him, great. If he feels he doesn't, because it was confusion between you and myself, when we talked about that.
I will talk to Commissioner Garrett, since he's the district personnel chair. No, I second him, or no, Brian seconds him.
But only because in this case, I filled in for Dan, because he was recusing himself.
No,
For business operations, which is probably what falling to you and Dan.
you're right.
But I mean, we can get, I don't want, I mean, some of this should be
Yes.
an executive session.
So that's why, but
But
being
we're
that
not gonna
Dan's
sign
not,
for speed.
being that Dan's not here, I mean, we'll, if him and I can explore, having some meetings with our staff and see, what we can find and break down.
Yeah, I'm just, I don't think anybody on the board can do what he does.
But, that's it. If something happens to him, God forbid,
Yeah.
we'd have to put a letter out and hire somebody. It's unfortunately a bridge we'll have to cross if it ever happens.
I know, just.
I hope it's not my turn sitting here, so.
Sean hopes so too. You gotta make it.
Oh, I got one, I hope not, I mean, but I'm just, it's something I think is important to look at.
Yeah, I'll bring him to speed move after. It's fine, no problem.
Before we adjourn one more time, we have to clarify my
Title,
title.
just go throw it in there.
I don't have my phone pulled up.
It was instead of assistant administrators, assistant secretary.
Is that what it is?
Trouble checking, but yeah.
If you would, please.
Was Danny's email, right?
Yes, it was Bob's email, and I think Dan replied to that, right?
Title change to assistant secretary as opposed to assistant administrator.
So we need a motion.
I make a motion to change the title to assistant secretary.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion to adjourn again. Okay, Brian, Greg, all in favor? Aye.
On Dave Benedetto was the farm.
Yeah.